This is Matthew 12:31 at its finest, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. And you're right. I mean, most of us, we came into the medical field because this is what we do. I mean, but for me, I guess as a believer, it's on a whole nother level.
Hey everybody, for this week's video, we have something a little bit different for you. As you know, we love to talk about faith and work. So we decided to sit down with those that are out there in the workforce to talk about how their faith interacts with their work. And so this week we got to sit down with Doctor Darrell Solet, one of our good friends, who is on the front lines of the coronavirus, and how he is reconciling his faith and his work together. Let's dive into that interview. I think you'll enjoy it.
We're hearing a lot. I'm hearing a lot of pastors talk about, even social distancing. Like that's a way for us to love our neighbor right now.
Right.
So, for some of us, that means staying away from people. But for people like you, like the medical professions, you guys are you're running towards this, right? Like you're gowning up and you put the masks on and the double gloves and,
yeah.
So I guess, how is your work in the medical field? How do you feel like it's expressing love, or how are you guys loving your neighbor? Not just you, but like everyone you're working with as well.
Yeah. This is Matthew 12:31 at its finest, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. And you're right. Most of us, we came into the medical field because this is what we do. But for me, I guess as a believer, it's on a whole nother level, because these people need care just like anyone else would. And as doctors, we take care of patients who have contagious diseases all the time. HIV and tuberculosis and all these things are highly contagious. But I think for all of us, this one is on a bit of a new level altogether, just because it is so incredibly contagious. And because, the ramifications of, contracting this disease, and it can be pretty serious. But with all of that being said, this is what we do. This is what we do. This is how we care for our neighbor. This is how we love our brother and sister. Just day in and day out. And it's an honor to actually be given the privilege to be able to do this and to actually be a part of people's lives when they're going through such an ordeal. And I couldn't imagine doing anything else. But of course, we're cautious. We have to be cautious. We don't just throw caution to the wind as we do any of this. You're right. We gown up, we glove up, we put on, protection over our face and masks and everything else. And we practice universal precautions. We practice droplet precautions and airborne precautions, for all of these patients that we're seeing. But it's just what we do. It's just what we do.
Yeah, that's good. So, let me just ask it this way. So you're in the hospital, you're in the office every day, you're seeing not just COVID patients, but you're seeing all kinds of patients, right? So, how do you see God at work? Or maybe this is more of a general question. How do you see God at work? We talk a lot about our work as an opportunity to partner with God, right? Like we get to partner with God. There's a great old Martin Luther quote that God is milking the cows through the vocation of the milkmaid. Right.
Okay.
So like God, God is caring for people through the vocation of the doctors and the nurses and the administrators and everybody. So, how do you see God at work in the hospital through what you do every day, or what those around you are doing every day?
Yeah. So, it's always especially enjoyable when I go in and see a patient who's a fellow believer, because we have a certain connection there. So it doesn't, how it is, if you go into the mission field, for example, it doesn't matter what country you're going into. If they're a believer, they're a believer, they know you're a believer, and there's that instant connection. And it's really the same thing, kind of in medicine, day in and day out. I just love it when I have the opportunity to pray with one of my patients in clinic. Whether it's we're rejoicing or whether we're praying for healing or whatever it might be, the true joy, really get an opportunity to do that. I truly get to share Christ, with one of my patients. But I have lots of patients who come in, they're not believers. And there's no bigger compliment than I can receive from a patient who doesn't know my background, where I'm from, my faith, and things like that. And after a couple of visits, they come back and they say, I'm not quite sure what it is. There's something different about you. And I hope that what they realize that that's the Spirit of God that lives within me. And I think there's no greater compliment than I can receive from a patient, when that kind of thing happens. And that's what I really want to try to achieve. I want patients to see me as kind of, that lamp, that's on a nightstand in the darkness that can really kind of share with them and be compassionate with them, but still provide, high quality medical care for them. But that is such a joy when I can have that interaction with patients, and it's so important to do.
I love it. Well, I'd come see you if I was down there. I'd come see you virtually most of the time anyway. Darrell, something hurts. What's the problem? No, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe this is a little bit of a broader, more existential question, I guess. But it's easy to some extent for some people to see how the medical profession. You're helping people a lot of times at their most vulnerable, right? It's easy for them to kind of connect medical work to God's work.
Mm-hmm.
But all of us, I think, have the ability, especially at a time like this. I mean, what would you say to other people that you're seeing in your community and around your community? How would you encourage other people, ways they can honor God through their work, through their giftings, through the way God wired them in this kind of unique, crazy season?
Yeah, and I think it's times like this where we need to reflect on the fact that God has gifted all of us with spiritual gifts, whether it's wisdom, whether it's knowledge, whether it's faith, whether it's healing, whatever it might be. I mean, these are times for us to use those gifts and really shine with the people around us, whether they're believers or not. This is the time to really do that. And I think more than anything else, I mean, for those of us who've been around for a while and we kind of have that wisdom about living life and experience and so forth, I mean, sharing that wisdom with other people is so incredibly important. So we need to lean back on the spiritual gifts that we've been given, knowing that, look, God has given this to us. And these are our strengths, and we need to move in those. We really, really need to move in those. Because you know what? It's that voice of calm in the chaos that really goes such a long way to calming fears and helping people kind of get through these situations, because people are scared. People are really, really scared right now. And we need to realize that. And I think it's important for us to be that voice of calm, the voice of reason, but also be that voice of reality as well. It's very important.
It's good. That's really good, man. Well, I mean, last scripted question here, I guess. And I wanted to make sure you didn't think I was trying to, everybody's got their predictions, right? Everybody's speculating on what's going to happen here. I'm not trying to get you to go on the record and make some kind of prediction. How long is this going to last, Dr. Darrell? Let's send this out, on social media. But I did, I guess, want to ask just a general question. As a doctor, what would you say to all of us right now? I mean, we're all, like you said, we're all in this kind of crazy season. Nobody knows what to think. Nobody knows what to feel. What would you say to all of us as a doctor? You're in the midst of this. You're seeing it hands on. You've got medical knowledge, but you got kids and a wife and all that too, right? So you're processing this as parents and through the lens of your own life. What would you say to all of us right now as we try to process this whole thing? What would you say?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, follow the advice of the health professionals and the health leaders, in this country, the CDC and all of the things that are coming out of, all of the research institution and whatnot. I mean, follow those recommendations, because these are thought leaders in the medical community, and it's really important to do so. But beyond all that, it's, stay calm through this whole process as much as possible. I mean, I rely on the Psalms a lot through situations like this. I mean, Psalm 121, I mean, the Lord is my keeper. He will take care of me, okay? One way or the other, no matter what happens. If I get infected, if I, whatnot, I mean, he will take care of me. And then, Psalm 122, I mean, the Lord is my peace. And that's what I need to relax in the fact that the Lord is my peace, and it's all going to be okay in the end. Everybody is really worried about so many things. And I think the main reason they're so concerned is because there is so much uncertainty. When is this thing really going to peak out? When is it going to be over? Is it going to go through the summer? Is it going to, die out before then? I mean, who knows? Everybody has plans for the summer. They have plans for vacation. They have all these things that are kind of upcoming. What are they going to do? And we just don't know right now. So I would say stay calm, rely on the word of God and what his promises say for us. And I think we're all going to be okay in the end.